Hey all you fabulous fans, welcome back. Today we've got a couple relationship troubles stories. One who says his wife wants a divorce, and the other found out the missus was cheating after the affair partner apparently tried to commit suicide. Let's listen in and see how they go. My 29 male wife says she, 29 female, wants a divorce. We've been together for almost 8 years, lived together for 4 years, and married this past October. She says she isn't happy and doesn't want children. She doesn't want a family, even though she has told me otherwise the last several years. When we first started dating, she wasn't as into it, but as we both grew up, she would often talk about how excited she was to have a family together. She says my family hasn't ever really cared for her, mainly my father. She isn't totally wrong in this. My dad is kind of old school and a bit sexist, and the very fact that she has sleeves has rubbed him the wrong way for a long time. Sleeves? Like a long sleeve shirt? Anyway, we have been together so long that time kind of changes these things. They get along fine now, and never really had any big altercations or anything. When we decided to get married, and it became clear that we would be together for the long haul, his attitude changed. She says she has forced me to change who I am to be with her. It's hard for me to verbalize exactly what she is referring to. We have both changed so much in the near decade together, and 22 through 29 is a totally different life. So of course we both have changed. I call it growing up. I can only think of little things. She's controlling in the kitchen, so I don't really cook much anymore, which is something I used to enjoy. She just does it because she's kind of a neat freak, and apparently I don't quite meet her standards. The same with the house a bit. I was born in the country and was often barefoot in and out of the house all the time, whereas she wants everything in the house to be just so. I have a bit of a hippie soul, and she doesn't so much, I suppose you could say. At first I resented it, but now I love having our clean house, and it's no problem for me to respect that for her, because even if we have different home standards, I can respect the effort it takes for her to make things how they are. She says that she has whipped me into shape, but it's not really how I want to live. She says she dulls my shine because of who she is. It's so hard to hear that. She's currently unemployed. She left her job during the pandemic so that she could gain extra income. Now that that is over, she's applied to a number of different places, but refuses to go back to her old job and wants to just draw unemployment till she finds something she likes. That one is a bit difficult for me. She has made more than me for months doing nothing, and while I understand, and even encouraged it at first, the fact she wasn't willing to hustle and even work part-time while applying for jobs bothered me. Missouri is basically wide open right now, with minor restrictions, and I haven't missed a day of work during this entire pandemic. I told her as much, and told her there were certain things I expect of her as my wife. I expect her to work at least until we have children, and seeing her be so apathetic about it was disappointing me. She has never contributed to savings. We have a separate checking and a joint savings account. She has almost never added to it, and even while making considerably more than me the last several months being off work, hasn't added to our savings. She has paid off a couple $1,000 bills, which is awesome, but knowing how much she made, she's mostly wasted the money trivially. I just wasn't expecting it. I came home after work, took a shower, and she called me into my room and said she wasn't happy and wanted it to end. She said she wasn't physically lusting after me anymore, even though she loved me. Obviously, this one really hurt my confidence. I work out very regularly, and while I'm not the most fit I've ever been, I was once fat and have prioritized my health and body wellness heavily over the last decade. I play too many damn video games, I think, is what could have caused the disconnect. We hang out and watch movies or binge shows, but we also respect one another's space during the week, and after a long day of work and training, I have definitely plopped down at my computer to game with friends more times than I probably should have. She says that all the nerdy things like that don't bother her at all, and that's the stuff I love and shouldn't feel I need to change everything for her. She says it's more than that. I just love her so much and was so happy with our life together. Knowing she wasn't is devastating. I feel so responsible for her happiness and like I must have let her down, not been doing my part to emotionally connect. But we often joke and laugh. We are genuine friends. We were planning a trip together very soon and had plans to meet with our bank about first-time homebuyer loans this week. I also think that could have been a catalyst. She says I want a family and a house in the country, and even though she told me she did want all of that, now that we are making those moves, she's getting cold feet and says she doesn't. I don't know what advice to ask really. I've just never been in this spot in life before. It feels so real, and she seems very resolute. My confidence is crushed, and I feel like I failed my marriage. I always tried to prioritize her and love her. It was so out of left field. Our sex life was regular and good. She seemed to have passion for us. I think this pandemic showed how incompatible you two are while she's suffering a midlife crisis before she's 30 years old. You want a family with kids with her as a stay-at-home mom, but you expect to work till then, even if the pay is lousy and she doesn't want kids but is not currently working due to how disenfranchised her low wages are, while unemployment checks are double than what she was making per month. This is a situation where marriage counseling is in order so she can be honest with what she wants and you need an epiphany. If not, divorce is also a good option in this giant disconnect. Update 1. She cheated on me. We've been together for 8 years, married for almost 1. She said she wasn't sure if we were going to work and maybe it would be best if we separate. Cited a bunch of issues that had come up years ago. However, we had worked through those and hadn't encountered them in years, so it didn't make sense. I confronted her after making another anonymous Reddit post and gained some advice. She admitted she had slept with another man, so I kicked her out. She's been home non-stop with the pandemic and was borderline depressed, it seemed. She has since told me repeatedly how much she regrets it and how much more she loves me and is connected to me than some guy she had only known for a few days. But the fact she met a guy and so quickly wound up cheating is insane to me. I've never had anything but complete trust. This rocked me and was very unexpected. We were planning on getting first-time homeowner loans the week it came out. Now she is staying with her parents and we talk periodically. I've had tremendous amounts of anger and sadness depending on the time of day. She thinks she wants to work through it, but she also is going to go to the mountains with her family for a week and think about things. I don't know what to do. On one hand, forget her, and she betrayed my trust. And on the other, I've never loved anyone like this, and value our marriage and potential future if she were willing to work through it. But then I wonder if she would respect me if I took her back. If it's already too wrecked. If she decides maybe the grass is greener on the other side. I'm just confused, and I'm unsure what to do. I've tried to not talk to her too much while she's gone, because it's either emotional discussion or me being a dick, which ultimately just makes me hurt. Please help, preferably from people that have been through something similar, but I'm open to perspectives. Update 2. We spoke again last night, and we cried together a bunch and talked about our relationship. She has agreed to stay with her family a few hours away for the next weeks. They go from the 22nd through the 29th of this month to Colorado. She told me that she needs to feel if this is a mistake, and that she wants no contact till then. After that, if I'm willing, she would like to talk to me. She swears she won't communicate with this other guy either, but I really just don't believe her. I forgave her for everything. We are all human, and I unconditionally love her. She didn't seem keen on couples therapy, and instead wants to do individual therapy for herself. She said I let her walk all over me, and that it caused her to lose respect for me. She also talked about how she had an intimacy issues for a while, and she doesn't know how to fix that. We would have sex every week, maybe twice, and it would always be great, and we would feel connected, but just the act of engaging always seemed to be more of a struggle than it used to be. She would shut me down often. It always had to be on her terms, it seemed. Her family has promised to keep me updated periodically in secret because they all love me and want it to work out. They've been blessings and showering me with love during this time. Mentally, I'm expecting it to be over. I'm going to spend these next few weeks returning to the gym and focusing on what I've been missing out on while I was with her. It will be difficult to not reach out, but I gotta do it. If this is the end, she agreed that we could annul the marriage and it wouldn't turn into anything nasty. Not that I have much she could take anyway. My friends and family have been very supportive, and I actually got lots of great advice from my original post. After we meet in a few weeks and talk, I'll update then. OP's comments. I would have never known she cheated had Reddit not driven me to ask the hard questions. She would have lied to me every day forever. Looking at her through this new lens is certainly perspective altering and something to consider. There are tons of girls who are into me, honestly. I've always been good with the ladies. I just chose this one and was so free with my love. I committed wholeheartedly and ultimately, yes, I got burned. Perhaps I'm codependent and needy with my love. I have therapy scheduled with the best around starting next week. Working through these issues will definitely help me make more rational decisions in the future. I will have the divorce papers ready for her, If she isn't motivated to love me and work on what she broke, that is nobody's fault but her. I won't continue to blame myself for that. I've spent a week doing that, and it is neither good nor true nor productive. There had been a time, maybe 3 or so years ago, I had thought I was going to break up with her. I felt like she wasn't as motivated or invested in the life we had talked about, and perhaps she wasn't in love with what I was trying to do, and was instead more invested in the idea rather than the thing. We almost broke up, but she reassured me that wasn't the case and seemed very genuine in both her words and efforts following. 2 years later, I proposed, and 1 year and 10 months later, here we are. She seemed really wrecked by whatever emotional demons were unearthed in her trip. It may sound messed up, but it was satisfying seeing her look like she was really realizing the results of her actions. Then I kicked her back out, and she's now hours away with her parents. Final update. So much has changed since I made the 2 posts looking for advice to navigate a situation I never thought I'd encounter. I have been living on my own for several months now. I have filed for divorce, and it will be a completely uncontested procedure. I am fortunate that we didn't have children or owned any property together. This last 5 months have been the toughest in my life. I lost my job not long ago as well, as a result of some poor behaviors that began shortly after the affair was discovered. I've got work for now, 30 hours a week at a landscaping company, and I'm grateful for money to help keep the bills paid. My friends and family are amazing and love and support me a ton. I have a girl I've recently begun seeing, and I do like her. She meets many of the criteria I have for a partner. However, I still struggle with a callousness in my heart. After nearly a decade with my soon-to-be ex-wife and being blindsided by infidelity, I just don't look at the world the same way. I feel like my innocence has been taken from me, and I see the world for how it is. It does get better, and I have far more good days and moments than bad, but I still have those painful moments and likely will for a long time. I'm struggling to trust, and also to feel worthy of love. I was sleeping around some at first. I get all sorts of mixed advice. Some friends say it's whack to sleep around because I'm just using girls, but I communicate everything openly and honestly about where I am emotionally and what I could commit to. Some friends and fam say to rebound and have fun and not block myself out and be too jaded. It's hard to feel a genuine connection when I just have such trouble not imagining that on a long enough timeline a potential partner would get bored and just cheat or leave. I really want to get married and have kids, and live that old school loving family life you always hear about. I've had a few married or otherwise in a relationship girls slide in my DMs, and it just really disappoints me. Where are the girls that want to love and be loved, that have morals and ethics, and actually want to explore more than the superficial layers of a relationship? It seems to be a trait lacking in the people I see today. There isn't much left to say. I haven't made any major moves, moving away and draining my 401k, anything too wild. I'm enjoying living alone for the first time in my life, and I got to keep the dog we adopted together, which means the world to me. I'll hopefully soon get a job with benefits again, and suppose start moving in a direction that leads me to buying some land and a home. I want to thank everyone who DM'd me, commented, or in any other way offered real advice and console. It is encouraging to see the internet acting in a positive manner from time to time. Reddit is certainly an amazing resource. My big thing now is healing, I guess. Self-love and all that. I just wish my heart wasn't so callous, and my attitude much less brooding. I suppose it's likely only up from here? I certainly hope so. We could all use a little bit of kindness come 2021. I'm glad you're moving forward and that things seem to be getting better day to day. The friends who are telling you that you're whack for sleeping around and hurting girls need to butt out. They are not in your shoes, and if doing this will help you move on, then you aren't hurting anyone as long as you're honest, which it seems like you are. It's only been a few months. You're moving forward, and the rest will just take time. Consider some counseling. It can really do amazing things to help you heal more fully. Think of it like a scar left by a plastic surgeon versus one left by a saw. Both heal, but one heals much more neatly than the other. Seeing a counselor after a traumatic event can be the emotional equivalent of the plastic surgeon scar. Keep doing what's best for you. Buying some land and home before you start seriously dating again is wise. Assets, investments prior to getting possibly remarried down the line will keep someone from taking it from you as long as you do not refinance it after the marriage. Kind of like an unintentional prenup. Sorry to hear that the women you're coming across now that you're single lack morals, but just going to throw it out there, don't expect to find your next faithful wife on Tinder or other hookup apps. Not saying it couldn't happen, but it's unlikely. Expect to only find women who are looking to cheat or get a casual friends with benefits thing going on in those apps. you'll probably have to get involved in other social activities or hobbies to actually meet a better quality woman. Alright, moving on. Wife, 46 female, and I, 46 male, together since we were 13, married for 25 years. Find out she had an affair when the other guy tried to commit suicide 5 days ago. My story with my wife, 46 female, begins in the 70s. My parents immigrated from Brazil to the US in 1970. They met another couple that had immigrated from Brazil a few years earlier and had just moved to Dallas. They became really close friends. And 2 years after that, they opened a business together. In 73, that couple got pregnant, around the same time my mom also got pregnant. I was born 4 days earlier than my wife. Our families didn't have any extended family in the US, so we were each other's family basically. Her mom used to babysit me while my mom worked, and since I'm an only child and her sisters were born 8 years later, we were basically raised together. We were inseparable, basically joined by the hip as my mom used to say. Our parents used to take vacations together, and when my parents took vacations, they used to take her with us. We used to have barbecues every weekend, and we always went together to church on Sunday. We were best friends. I asked her on a date when we were 13, and we discovered we loved each other. Our relationship was actually very mature given our ages. We were best friends, so it wasn't that different. We went to the same college. I proposed to her in 94, and we got married in 95. We went to the same college, and after we graduated, she started her own business, and I started helping our dads in their business. We had our first daughter in 98. Soon after we had 3 more, 20 female, 20 female, 18 female. It was like a dream. We were so happy. We were living our best life. We both have very good salaries. We live extremely comfortably. Multiple properties, including some in Europe. Vacations twice a year. Our sex life was healthy. We indulged in each other's kinks. Had sex normally 3 times a week. We both professed how much we love each other every single day. It was like a dream. This year, I started noticing some changes in her. She started spending more time working. She was always on her phone. We stopped having sex. We started arguing all the time about things we normally would never argue. She started being cold to me. We talked about this, and she told me that this year was really stressful to her. She started acting more normal, but something was off. Even our daughters realized that. I just didn't know what it was. Last week was when I finally realized that something was very wrong. My brother-in-law, 36 male's brother, 29 male, tried to commit suicide 5 days ago, which was surprising to everyone. He definitely doesn't seem like he was depressed or anything like that. My wife and I are very close with brother-in-law's family, so we were all very shocked. He wasn't able to end his own life, but it was close. Brother-in-law found him in his garage with the car on. It was a very close call, but they were expecting him to make a full recovery. My wife was very weird during this whole thing. Constant mood swings, crying all the time. We were all sad, but she was more affected than she should have been. Then, 3 days ago, my brother-in-law told me the truth about his brother's suicide. My wife and his brother, who is 17 years younger than me, have been having an affair for almost 11 months. Apparently, last week he tried to convince my wife to leave me for him. My wife ended their relationship, and he tried to end his own life. I confronted my wife after hearing this, and to my surprise, she confessed. Yeah, I was honestly hoping that he was wrong and that his brother was lying. I am that naive. She broke down crying that she didn't know why she did this. She called it a midlife crisis, saying that it was nothing wrong with us, that she still loved me. I ended up almost having a panic attack. I just didn't know what to do. Just packed a bag with some clothes and just stormed off. She tried to stop me, but I just got in my car and drove away for almost 8 hours. I stopped when I realized that I was in freaking Memphis already. I've been staying in a hotel since that day. Everyone has been blowing my phone up. Apparently, my daughters now know because my wife told them, which just makes the thing even more humiliating. I talked to my oldest, just told her that I am safe and don't want to talk to anyone. My wife and her family have been calling non-stop. I have more than 100 missed calls and 1,000 unread text messages. My other daughters are also desperate, but I just can't bring myself to talk to them. For the last 2 days, I have already drunk 2 bottles of wine and 1 bottle of whiskey. I just can't stop crying. I feel absolutely lost. Absolutely lost. I've known my wife for my entire life. I've known her since she was barely 1 day old. We had our first picture together when she was 2 days old, and now every time I think about her, I feel like throwing up. What did I do wrong? What the F am I supposed to do? Any advice is really appreciated. I'm really lost right now. Just some advice on the practical side. Save all the messages from her, text and voice. Your lawyer will need them. Texas is not a no-fault state, according to a quick Google search, so her admitting to her affair in text or voice messages will be important. Even if you decide down the road to try to reconcile, you'll want a post-nup agreement, since there is a business involved, and her admission of guilt will be helpful. Second piece of advice, stop drinking. Booze is a depressant and will only make you feel worse and make bad decisions. Your wife has created enough bad decisions and bad feelings already. Third, get a lawyer ASAP. Even if you don't divorce, you need to know what your rights, options, and the best way to proceed legally to protect yourself are. Finally, go home. Running away isn't going to help anything. Go home and show your daughters you're okay. Tell your wife she has to go stay with her parents or siblings for a while, but don't let her force you out of your home and away from your children and family. Good luck to you.